A subgenre of lo-fi hip-hop beats that keeps getting more and more popular is the genre of sleepy beats. So that's really laid back and mellow beats that encompass a lot of the lo-fi hip-hop elements, but in a much more laid back and relaxing way. But I've noticed it's a genre that's got quite a bad reputation, as you've got a lot of big companies like Lo-Fi Fruits who are just butchering the music, making really simple and boring music just to get as much revenue from Spotify as possible. But there are also labels like Sleep Tales and Lo-Fi Girl and even Chill Hop that are releasing really great sleepy music. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I approach making sleepy lo-fi beats. I've got a few tricks on how you can make them more interesting and give them a bit of groove and movement without being too overly energetic and sort of upbeat. So there are ways you can make these beats interesting and avoid the sort of trap of making them too minimal or too sleepy and ambient to the point where they're just not really that musical. So in this video, I'll be breaking all that down. Plus, I've got another competition as always. So like last week, there's going to be a chance to win any of the Valhalla Reverb plugins, and I've got a new one which I'll be demonstrating in this video as well. All you've got to do to enter is like the video and drop a comment. And I'll be picking one of the commenters at random as soon as we hit 300 likes. So be sure to enter that if you want a free Valhalla plugin. Any of them goes. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to start off with phase one of making an interesting, sleepy lo-fi beat. So for this one, I'm going to kick off with some ambience and some drums. I usually start with instruments, but I'll start with drums on this one so we get the nice sort of mellow drum progression going. And then I'll try and layer in some chords, maybe piano, maybe electric piano, I'm not sure yet. Start off at 60 BPM. It's always, for sleepy stuff, good to do a nice slow one. You could even do a 3/4 with a sort of maybe 100 BPM, or 60, 70, or maybe even down to like 55 can work for this. As long as you make the drums interesting enough to sort of carry the beat. You don't want it to be too sparse to the point where it's just like an ambient, fully ambient track. So yeah, 60 BPM, and I've thrown in some vinyl atmosphere, and I want another texture. So I just went on to Splice and I found this thing. So I'm going to add that one. Also try and find maybe something else. I'm looking for a coffee shop, maybe a library, just something like that, somewhere where I can get quiet textures. Okay, so I've got 3 ambiences that could work. I've got a park one with like birds, crackling fire, and this coffee shop. We'll start by layering in this. So I'm going to group them together. Now, most of the ambiences can be quite harsh, so lower the volume a bit, and I'm going to drop an auto filter on there just to cut any of the lows. So now we just got a subtle texture. You could even stack in something else as well. So this park one could be quite nice. Just really in the background. Nice soft atmosphere going now. So the thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to start with the drums. So I'm going to grab my usual drum rack. Got my drums here, so I'm just going to go for quite a soft subby kick. So I've just penciled in a quick kick and snare combo that sounds like this. So context with a clicker. So we're keeping it quite soft and minimal. And I've also done this with the chord progression in mind. So there's going to be a sort of triplet hi-hat feel, and the chord progression is going to be quite arpeggiated. So yeah, I'll explain that more in a minute. But anyway, I've planned it out for that. So I planned it out on a sort of triplet grid. So the snare doesn't really matter. Just a bog standard snare on the offbeat. And then for the kick, I've right clicked and I've hit triplet grid, as it'll make it easier to get the kicks just where I want them. If you go to sort of standard grid, they end up being somewhat weird. So even if you went to 132, it wouldn't quite match up. So go triplet grid and it'll match up perfectly. So what I mean by this, timing wise, if I make a clip of the hi-hats, we're sort of going 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So if I get a hat in there, so that's the effective pattern and flow of the track. So that's the general vibe, but what I'm going to do is get a little sample, chop it up, and sidechain it to the kick to give it a bit of movement. So I'll just do that and show you what I mean. Okay, so I've just added a little hi-hat pattern, very simple, on the whole 1 2 3 pattern. So we've got velocity changing, giving it the sort of slight swing to it, and that's it. And then I've also layered in this brush. And because this sort of hits on the beat, I don't have to worry about the triplet thing because most of my samples aren't going to work under this unless I manipulate them a bit. So that's all right, but they sound a little bit stiff. So let's give it a bit of movement by throwing a compressor on there after grouping them together. And then I'll open this and sidechain it to the kick. And if I increase the gain, crack that right up, increase the release, then what we get is this choppy feel. And then we've got a little bit of movement on this. So then if I add these together, get the ambience in there. Just get a little bit more movement to it, and it's still quite simple. I'm going to keep it this simple, and now I'm going to do the piano progression. That's going to be a sort of 3/4 themed. So I've recorded the piano. I've recorded it with the Noir Felt. As always, love the Dusky preset, and I've used the DAW cassette on there from Cleveland Audio with the motor quality down a little bit. The thing I like about this plugin is I can add the sort of tape wobble without having it too much distortion or compression or anything like that. So I've got this nice soft piano loop with a little bit of the lo-fi effects. So in the mix, I'll clean up the track a little bit and soften it. But for now, I'm going to start to add in some of the textures that'll make it more interesting without going too crazy and making it too upbeat. So I just recorded a quick lap steel line, which I think could work quite well on like an outro. Still pretty new to lap steel, so I'm making a lot of botch takes at the moment, but I think it sounds pretty cool, especially if you sort of top the high end off, add a lot of reverb. But anyway, I need a bass line now. So what I'm thinking, usually for sleepy, mellow stuff, I just like to go for a simple sub bass. And ideally something that's not too in-your-face electronic, so like a soft with a bit of attack, a bit of release. For that, I'm going to go for the Spitfire Vintage Keys. It's got a really nice bass, just all-round basic. It's just a soft sound that's come from keys, I guess. This is what it sounds like. So I've just copied the bass from the piano progression, and I've changed the pattern slightly. So rather than sort of jump in between the two, it just does on the G and then transitions like that. So it's like this. So just keeping it simple in the bass line. So just a nice bit of warmth and character. So yeah, sounding good so far. So now I'm just going to layer in some vocal textures, but in quite a subtle way, not as in your face as it would be in the usual tracks that I do. So I'll do that now. So I finished adding some vocal effects. As always, I've stacked a few different things on top of each other, but this time I'm trying to keep them as sparse as possible so there's not too much going on. I've kept everything sort of quite centralized. There's not too much panning going on. Everything's got quite a long attack. So in the Oliver Patrice, for example, if I go into settings, I can click this wheel, go to attack, cranked it right up, so that way as the chord gets to the end, that's when you're starting to get the main sort of vocal layering. But for most of the note, it's quite quiet as it builds up with the attack. And then I've added in some sample chops with some Valhalla shimmer on there. Again, these are just the vocal one shots from Alex Lenz, but I'm keeping it again quite sparse. So this is what it sounds like on the intro. Super sort of dreamy and ambient. And then if I hear it with the chords, I'm going to group the piano and the vocals together as a sort of instrument bus. Get that lap steel in there as well. I'm going to have a little transition on here. So if I drop a utility on the instrument bus, I'm going to automate the stereo field so that from the start of the track, it dips down as we get towards here. Then it opens up again, and I can also drop the volume just a little bit. Because I'm trying to keep it soft, I don't want to make the transitions build noise too much. I want it to sort of reduce it, and then it's more impactful when the track comes back in, rather than building it up too much and then having to make the drop even louder. So this way I can make it quite a soft drop and it still sort of feels impactful. So now what I'm going to do is sprinkle in a bit of piano and maybe some guitar melody, just the top end, keeping it again not too chaotic, quite simple, just adding some texture to the track, and lay in a little bit of Foley and percussion. So I'll just record a few bits and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I've just layered in some piano, guitar, and a little bit of percussion, which has sort of brought the track together a little bit. So yeah, we're getting there. This is the sort of Foley layer, so it's just a little shell thing, and some drumsticks, which give it a sort of percussive feel. I've just put some shimmer, some convolution reverb on there, and on the group I've just cut the lows and highs and a bit of halftime, which gives it the lower sort of crunch. And then just the usual guitar chain. And again, they've got some shimmer on there, some Valhalla shimmer, which is a great plugin. You can control everything on there, the size, you can cut the lows, which is what I usually do. Change the highs, give it a sort of dark shimmer. So this is a new plugin I've recently got and I'm loving it. And then also I laid in a little top line melody, which is again going through the DAW cassette, which is giving it a little bit of distortion and wobble. So yeah, it's pretty much a near finished track. I'd probably go in and mix a bit, add a few more effects, transitions, but sounded pretty solid, pretty dreamy, sleepy vibe. So pretty happy with this. I'm just always thinking about a sort of quite a soft film score vibe when I'm thinking of sleepy tracks. It just helps give it a little bit of movement and character while sort of remaining in that whole sort of mellow, sleepy sound. So yeah, I've been making a lot of tracks recently because I've got quite a few projects that I'm working on. So I make tracks for the videos because I think it's quite useful to show my workflow. And also I end up with a track as well, which is nice. So I've got a lot of these that are going to be released soon. So do stay tuned for that. And I've also got some fresh content coming out on YouTube as well in the near future. So yeah, stay tuned, drop a like and a comment to enter the competition to win a Valhalla plugin, and hit subscribe and hit the notification bell to be the first to hear about the new weekly uploads every Sunday around 5 o'clock UK time. I always upload a video. So yeah, there's lots more to come, including a new sample pack, free samples and competitions. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.